Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Waalaikum salam warahmatullah.
Bismillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya Sayyidina wa Habibina al-Mustafa Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin. Okay, alhamdulillah, I'd like to welcome you all to week 16 of our book, Ar-Risalah to al-Jami'ah. And we'll be continuing from where we left off last week with the obligations or the wajibat of Hajj. But as you all know, the format, we continue, we start from the beginning of the text as a review, and then we'll review from last week a little bit, and then we'll cover what we're doing today. So we'd like to welcome our sister Venus from Buffalo, New York, is joining us for the first time this week. I think you met everybody already. So I'm Imam Fahim. We have Sister Naila down at next to me on the bottom. My cousin Nishan, Sister Nishan, that's my cousin there. Then you have Sister Khadija, of course, who invited you. And this is it for right now. So we roll where we at, inshallah.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome you to the class. We saw you on our Facebook page that you messaged us about, you were at a certain part of the video. So don't worry, we review every week. So, and then we're going to go over this book again because we're almost at the end of it.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to go over again after this section. We'll probably do a test, and then we'll go over the next section, inshallah. All right, so let's start from the beginning. Read from the beginning of the text. Who wants to volunteer?
I'll go. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All praise belongs to Allah, Lord of the worlds. A praise that matches His gifts and equals His increases. And may Allah send blessing upon our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon his family and companions. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Seeking knowledge is an obligation for every Muslim, male and female." And he said, upon him be peace, whoever takes a path searching for knowledge, Allah will lead him along a path to the garden, al-Jannah. The topics discussed in this book have mainly been abridged from the books of Hujjat al-Islam al-Ghazali.
Hujjatul Islam.
Hujjatul Islam al-Ghazali. It is our hope that whoever knows them and acts upon them will be placed by Allah among the people of true knowledge, outwardly and inwardly. And success is from Allah. The pillars of Islam. The pillars of Islam are 5. 1. Bearing witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. Doing the salat, giving the zakat, fasting Ramadan, making Hajj, pilgrimage to the house for whoever is able to. The above are to be done with sincerity and belief, and whoever is not sincere is a munafiq, a hypocrite, and whoever does not believe with his heart is a kafir. Faith, Iman. The reality of Iman is that you are convinced that Allah exists and He, the Exalted, is one without partner, likeness, or similarity. Nothing is like Him, and He is the all-hearing and all-seeing. He created the heavens and the earth, death and life, obedience and disobedience, health and sickness, and the entire universe and what it contains. He created human beings and their actions and determined their provisions and their lifespans. There can be no increase or decrease in these appointed things. Nothing happens except by His decree, qada, and that it will happen, and His determining, qadar, and His will, irada. He, the Exalted, is living and all-knowing. He wills and is able. He is speaker, hearer, and seer. He is knower of the treachery of the eye and what is hidden in the chest. He knows all secrets and that which is even more hidden. He is the creator of everything and is the one, the subduer. He, the Exalted, sent our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his servant and messenger, to the whole of mankind for their guidance so that they could perfect their lives and complete their return to Him. He helped him with clear miracles. You must also be convinced that He, upon whom be peace and blessings, was truthful in every fact which He conveyed to us from Allah, whether concerning the traverse sirat, the balance mizan, the pool haud, and other matters of the next world and the barzakh, including the questioning by the two angels and the punishment and bliss in the grave. The Quran and all the books that Allah sent down are true. The angels are true. The garden is true. The fire is true. And so is everything else about which our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed us. Chapter 2, Worship.
Okay, well, somebody else want to read?
I can read. If you can, everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Prayer, purity, the obligations, furud, of wudu, 6. Intention, niyyah, washing the face. The limits of the face are lengthwise from the place of the normal hairline of the head to the jawbone and in width from ear to ear. Washing both hands and arms up to and including the elbows. Wiping part of the skin of the head or the hair that covers it. Washing the 2 feet up to and including the ankles, performing the actions in this order. If one is in a state of janaba because of sexual intercourse or the emission of sexual fluid, mani, during sleep or otherwise, it is necessary to wash the whole body with the intention of removing janaba. The emission of anything from the 2 waist passages, front or back, nullifies the wudu. Wudu is also lost upon losing control of one's intellect during sleep or otherwise, unless one sleeps sitting down with one's seat firmly fixed on the ground, touching the private parts, front or back, of any human, whether oneself or someone else, and whether adult or child, with the palm of the hand or the inside of the fingers nullifies wudu, even if it be one's own child or a dead person. The touching of the skin of an adult male by an unrelated female and vice versa without any barrier nullifies the wudu. However, touching the nails, hair, or teeth do not nullify wudu. The validity of salat is dependent on the following. 1. Awareness of the entrance of the time, either with certainty, yaqeen, or because of working it out, ijtihad, or an overwhelmingly strong supposition, ghalabat zam, because if you make salat with doubt, it is not a valid prayer. Number 2, awareness of the qibla. 3, covering the odor with a permitted clean cloth. And 4, the removal of impurity from the clothes, body, and place of prayer. And it is also necessary to pray the obligatory fard salat standing up if one is able to do so. The salat, obligations of the salat. These are intention, niyyah, entering the prayer by saying Allahu Akbar, Allah is most great, accompanied by the intention. The reading of the Fatiha, beginning with the words Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The 14 points of stress, tashdidat, and not pronouncing a za instead of Allah, for there is no va sound in the Fatiha or za sound in the Fatiha. And then bowing ruku. In this, it is necessary to lean forward so as to be able to rest the hands on the knees. Then making the necessary pause, tatma'ina, so that all the limbs come to rest, and then returning to the upright position, i'tidal, where pausing for a few moments is also necessary. Then prostration, sajda, twice, and sitting between the 2 prostrations. Pausing is necessary in all of these. One must fulfill the above obligations in each rakat. The first tashahud and the sitting during the part of the salat is sunnah. The second tashahud and sitting during it are compulsory. The prayer on the Prophet ﷺ, his family and companions, be peace and salutations after the tashahud, but before the salam, is a compulsion, as is the sending of salams. The minimum salam is assalamu alaikum. The minimum tashahud that fulfills the compulsion is attahiyatu lillah. Salamun alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salamun alayna wa ala ibadillah salihin. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. The minimum prayer on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. One should do all the sunan. There are many. It is also required that one humbles oneself with total sincerity, ikhlas, making it an action solely for Allah only. Concentration, hudur, is also required. Hudur is being aware of what one is saying and doing. Submissiveness, khushu, is also required. Khushu is the stillness of the limbs, concentration of the heart, and pondering upon and the trying to understand what is being read. Allah accepts salat according to the amount of hudur. Showing off, riyah, which is acting for the sake of people in prayer and at all other times, is forbidden. Acts that invalidate the salat. Deliberately speaking invalidates the salat, even if it be only two letters, as does a large amount out of forgetfulness. A large amount of action also invalidates the salat. For example, three extra substantial movements, eating, drinking, exposing part of the outer without covering it immediately, and the appearance of najasa if it is not removed immediately without holding it. If a worshiper goes ahead of the imam by two integral elements, and likewise, if he falls behind the imam by two integral elements without legitimate reason, his salat is also invalid. Prayer behind a non-believer, a woman, or someone of mixed gender is not valid. Jumu'ah, Friday prayer. Friday midday prayer in congregation is an obligation for every Muslim who is male, free, resident in the locale, and not excused by a legal exemption, such as sickness or rain. Among the conditions of the Jumu'ah are the two sermons, al-Khutbatain. The integral elements, arkan, of the two sermons are hamd, sending greetings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, calling people towards piety, taqwa, the reciting of at least one verse of Quran in one of the two sermons, and praying for the believers in the last one. It is necessary for the one delivering the two sermons to do so while standing in a state of tahara with his awrah covered. He must sit between the two sermons and should pause longer than the normal pause for salat. There should be no interruption between the first and second sermons or the second sermon and the prayer. Establishing the congregational prayer and the funeral prayer, janazah, are communal obligations, fard kifaya, and the two Eids, the two eclipse prayers, and the witr prayers are all well-established sunan and are the
Rawatib.
rawatib of salat. The duha and tarawih are sunan and bring great blessing and reward.
Okay. Who wants to read the next section? Nobody? Anybody? Somebody? Nobody? Go ahead, cuz.
Fasting. Fasting, Psalm, is the third pillar of Islam. Is the well-known abstinence, but with certain special characteristics. Among them are making a daily intention during the preceding night and abandoning all things which break the fast, including food, drink, sexual intercourse, masturbation, and self-induced vomiting. Among the things which perfect the fast is the refraining of the limbs from things which God, Allah the Exalted, dislikes. The seven limbs which need to be restrained will be discussed later. It has been said in a hadith that 5 things nullify the act of fasting person: lies, backbiting, slander, false oath, and looking with desire. Among the things which perfect
Perfect.
perfect the fast are hastening to break the fast with halal food and not eating a great deal. It is good to fast often, especially on the days that Islam has considered special. God knows best and success is from Him. Allah knows best and success is from Him. Zakat, zakat of assets. Zakat is the fourth pillar of Islam. Therefore, every Muslim must know the type of possessions on which it is compulsory. These are livestock, nam,
Naam.
naam,
Mhm.
gold and silver, nakat, not,
Not.
not,
Not.
not.
Don't worry about the Arabic words.
Okay. Trade goods, buried treasure,
Uh-huh.
gold, silver mines, and
Mu'asharat.
ma'asharat,
Uh,
which are seed, crops, and fruits. There is no zakat on animals other than livestock grazing on public land. A precondition of the zakat becoming obligatory is the passing of one lunar year, which is also a condition for money and trade goods. Another condition is that they reach the nisab,
mm-hmm.
the lower limit above which zakat becomes obligatory for. The amount that has to be paid on money and trade goods is 2.5%. On crops and fruits grown by irrigation, the zakat is 5%. If the land is not irrigated, it is 10%. Zakat al-Fitr,
Fitr.
Fitr, Zakat al-Fitr, the zakat of Fitr has to be paid by every Muslim who possesses more than his actual needs and the needs of his dependents on the Eid day and the evening preceding it. Its amount is 4
Mud.
mud of the Prophet upon him and his family be peace. Intention is required for all above mentioned types of zakat. It is not permitted to give zakat or zakat al fitr except to a Muslim who is characterized by one of the 8 characteristics, such as being a poor or destitute person, and is not a Hashemi or
Mm-hmm.
Mutalibi.
Mutalibi.
Say it again.
Mutalibi.
Mutalibi,
Uh-huh.
nor their freed slaves, is necessary to pay to all of these groups.
Okay. All right, good. So last week we started with the Hajj. And the Hajj, I'll read this part. The Hajj is the fifth of the pillars of Islam and is an obligation on every free, legally responsible Muslim, which is a mukallaf, as is the Umrah once in one's life, on condition that one has the ability to go. Ability here means that one possesses what is needed to travel for the pilgrimage and back again, and payment for all the expenses of those he is legally obliged to support until his return. The acts of the Hajj are 3 types: the integral elements, arkan, the duties, the wajibat, and the sunan. This is where we left off last week. The arkan of the Hajj are 5. The ihram, this is the intention to perform the Hajj or the Umrah. It is preferred that one utters the words, I intend to perform the Hajj or the Umrah, and I sanctify myself thereby for Allah the Exalted. It is not valid to enter ihram for Hajj except in the Hajj months, which are Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, the last of which is the day of the sacrifice, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the Eid day. The remaining arkan are the standing at Arafat, the tawaf of Ifada, the sa'i, and the shaving of the or cutting of the hair. And the integral elements of the Umrah, they are the same as the arkan of the Hajj, with the exception of the standing the Arafat, which is not one of them. Then he talking about the tawaf and the sa'i, and they are necessary. They're necessary for the tawaf for the covering the aura, the state of tahara, from things which invalidated from the jasa, and that the tawaf is 7 circles inside the mosque and keeping the house, the Kaaba, on one's left, and that one is not actually inside the Kaaba. The sa'i must be done 7 times, must be after the tawaf, and must begin at al-Safa and end at al-Marwa, meaning that you don't do the opposite. You don't start at al-Marwa and then go to Safa. You have to start between Safa and Marwa, starting at Safa. All right. And that's where we left off last week. So let's just do a little review, inshallah. See where we at.
Did you post the video for this one?
I did, I believe. What, you didn't see it?
And that could be me not going through all of them, because I think the last one I saw was 15.
No, he did.
Yeah, I posted it.
I can't find. I gotta look at it again.
Okay. All right, so let's just cover this part that we're doing today. All right. Because the Hajj is one of those pillars that you're not really obligated to know the stuff until you actually do it, you know. So let's just go to the section where we at. So this week we're covering the wajibatul Hajj, the obligations of the Hajj. So the wajibat of the Hajj are being in a state of ihram from the miqat, the spending of the night before the day of slaughter at Muzdalifah, spending the nights of Tashriq at Mina, the throwing of stones against the pillars, and the farewell tawaf. And the sunan of the Hajj is all of the acts which should be done but which are not included among the arkan or the wajibat. Missing out a part of the Hajj. Whoever misses out a rukn, his Hajj will not be valid, and it is not permitted for him to leave the state of ihram until he completes it. An atonement payment of the penalty known as dam will not make up for it, nor will anything else. 3 of the arkan will always be binding as long as the person performing the Hajj is alive. They are the tawaf, the sa'i, and the shaving or cutting of the hair, which is called the halq. Whoever misses out a wajib, his Hajj is valid, but he has to make a sacrificial slaughter, which is the dam. He will be in a state of sin if he misses it out without a legitimate excuse. But whoever misses out a sunnah, his Hajj is valid, and he is not in a state of sin, and does not have to pay a dam or penalty, although he has missed out on a great deal of blessing. And then he talks about the muharramat, the prohibitions of the Hajj, things that are prohibited to do. It is not permitted for a man to cover his head or a woman to cover her face while in the state of ihram. They are not permitted to cover even a part of them, nor are they permitted to cut their nails or hair, or to put oil on the hair of the head or beard, or to wear perfume or any part of the body. It is not permitted to perform the marriage ceremony, or to have sexual intercourse, or indulge in foreplay, or to harm any edible wild land animal. The woman and man are the same with regard to these prohibitions. All right. So are there any questions so far? Because we're going to cover this last section of Hajj, and then that'll get us to the next section. All right. So we'll do this. Let me get the screen right. Okay. I think this is it. Okay. Can you all see that screen? It's coming up.
Yes.
Hold on, let me get this thing. I hate all this technology stuff. All right, let me get it. I gotta do slideshow from current slide. All right. So here we're on week 16. So we basically didn't review from last week, but we read the text to the current section. So now we get into what we're talking about today, inshallah. So we talk about the wajibat. Anybody remembers what the wajibat means?
Obligatory.
Yeah, the obligations for Hajj. All right. So wajibat, the definition we gave last week is the plural of wajib. And these are the things that should be present on the Hajj. And if not, the Hajj is still valid, but an expiation must be made. So what's the difference between the wajibat and the arkan? This is a little review, but we just kind of read it. What is arkan?
Arkan are the, like, those are the things that, the principles of it, like the list of things that happen.
The pillars.
The pillars. Sorry.
The pillars.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they're the pillars of the Hajj and the Umrah that they have to be present. And if they're not present, then the Hajj or the Umrah becomes invalid. But if something is wajib, they should be present. But if they're not present, the Hajj is still valid, but an expiation must be made. All right. So that's what meaning by the wajibat. Okay, so here are the wajibats of the Hajj, the Ihram, which is putting on the two garments, being present at Muzdalifah, the nights of Tashriq at Mina, which is the 11th, 12th, and 13th nights, and throwing the stones. Excuse me, I think I got those dates wrong. Not the 11th, 12th, and 13th nights. It's the days of Tashriq. It's what days are those? Is it the 9th, 10th, 11th? I was getting mixed up. Okay, no, yeah, it's the 11th, 12th, and 13th of Dhul Hijjah. So it's after the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, those nights of Tashriq, those days of Tashriq. So when a person is not on Hajj, those are the days that you celebrate Eid al-Adha, right? So you know the Eid al-Adha is like a 3-day celebration. But if a person is on Hajj, this is the nights of Tashriq where they spend at the tents of Mina. The throwing the stones of the Jamarat and the farewell Tawaf. These are the things that are the wajibat of the Hajj. Okay, and do you remember what the arkan was of the Hajj? We went over last week. One of them is the Ihram. Anybody remember?
Arafat.
Arafat.
The Tawaf.
Tawaf.
Sa'i.
The cutting of the hair.
Yes. And what else?
Not the stones. The throwing the stones.
That they have to be done in that specific order.
Tartib, yes. So the arkan of the Hajj is the Ihram, right? And that's done with the intention, all right? And that intention is in the heart, and the verbalizing is to strengthen it, standing at Arafah, Tawaf, the Sa'i, and shaving the Halq and Tartib. All right, so those are the arkans of the Hajj. And so the arkan, the difference between the arkan and the wajibat, usually they're synonymous, but here with the Hajj is that the arkan, they have to be present. If not, the Hajj is invalid, and you also have to pay you have to do an expiation. Then the wajibat of the Hajj is that they should be present. If not, the Hajj is still valid, but the expiation must be made. And even when you make the expiation for the arkan, we're going to cover that part. I don't want to jump the gun. All right. All right. So these are the wajibat. All right. And we'll cover each one of them real quick and individually. All right. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So the Ihram is when you take the Ihram for Hajj, you have to go at a place what's called the Miqat. And the Miqat means a boundary or limit. And you have to enter into Ihram before the passing of the Miqat. So if you don't have the Ihram with the intention and plus the dress before you pass these boundaries, then your Hajj is not valid. So you can't cross this Miqat without having the Ihram. And there are 5 Miqats when you go on Hajj. And the one that we would probably need to know about is the Miqat al-Juhfa, and that's for those who are entering from North America and the West. So you come to this station, and this is where you will don the garments for Hajj. So and then even scholars say, even if you're flying in a plane, you can't bypass these boundaries without being in a state of ihram. All right, and so expiation also must be paid if you cross this boundary without being in a state of ihram. All right, and as if you ever go and you want to play, well, have any of you ever been on Hajj?
No.
Anybody been on Umrah?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, inshallah, we need to put our intentions up, and that Allah make a way for us. So these are things you'll know once you go on Hajj, that before you even go in, you have to have the ihram before you reach one of these stations. There are 5 of them, but we'll be coming from the west, unless any of us is making hijrah somewhere. More than likely, this will we be coming from the west. It'll be the Miqat al-Juhfa, so we can't pass that without being in the state of ihram. And if you do, then you have to make this expiation, which would be like slaughtering the sheep. Okay, the next thing is Muzdalifah. So Muzdalifah is the open area located southeast of Mina that's en route to Arafat. And so the time of being in Muzdalifah is the night of Eid, which is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, as the recommended time or the preferred time, but really probably before Arafat, which be during the day, which would be the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. So according to our calendar, it would be in the daytime. All right. And so it is, when you get to Muzdalifah, it is recommended to delay the Maghrib and Isha prayer, to pray them together. And when you're at Muzdalifah, you stay there until Fajr. But in the Shafi school, that if you just be present as Muzdalifah without staying the night, then that is minimum. That is enough to cover the minimum. So you just show up in that area, and you show up in that area and be present there. That is enough to suffice as being counted as Muzdalifah, because sometimes everybody can't stay the night and things like that. All right. And this makes a way for, because this is a wajibat, that even though if you have to do this, but if you miss it, your Hajj is still valid. You just have to make an expiation, all right? And which will be or the slaughtering, making a sacrificial slaughtering of an animal, which is usually a sheep, all right? So the next one is the Rami al-Jamarat, is the throwing of the stones. So you all probably seen this. I don't know. Have any of you ever seen any tutorials for Hajj? Any videos?
Yes.
Okay. So when they have those 3 stations where they're throwing the stones at, and all right. So the throwing of the stones is of 2 types. All right. So the first type was the Rami of the Jamarat al-Aqaba. So this is when you're throwing the stones at the biggest pillar, because there are 3 pillars that you throw the stones at, right? And so the time for the Jamarat al-Aqaba, which will be on the 3rd day of the Hajj, the 3rd day of the the 3rd day of the Tashriq of Mina. Those 3 days, you can on the 3rd day, you can throw it at this the big pillar. All right. So that will start in the middle of the night of the Eid and ends up until Maghrib the same day. So that's if you're just doing for like that one day. And that's the first type. So you're just throwing at because those pillars are 3 different sizes. And so the Jamarat al-Aqaba is the biggest one. And then the second type is down the 3 days for the Tashriq, that if you do it this way, when you're at Mina, you have to throw them at all 3 pillars on those 3 different days. And then there's some things about, if you're leaving before the 3 days, then you should, if it's 2 days, then you throw for 2 days or something, there's some fake things related to it. And so the time for the Tashriq to start the Jamarat, or the throwing of the stones, is from the Zawal. And you know what the time of Zawal is. You remember? What does Zawal mean?
Sunset?
No, not sunset.
Sunrise?
Not sunrise. At that rate, you'll get it eventually.
Exactly. I don't know.
Zawal is the time after the sun reaches its zenith.
Okay.
So it'll be like after Dhuhr time, right around Dhuhr time. So this is the time when you're doing the second jump, the stoning. It will start from Zawal and it ends up to Maghrib. So that is a preferred time, although you can do it after that. All right. So that's what you need to know for that. And what is the significance of the stoning, throwing the stones at the Jamarat? Anybody know?
The shaitan. It's throwing the stones at the shaitan.
Okay, why there at that specific place?
I don't remember the implication, but when you say it, I'll remember it.
Okay, so you're gonna wait till I say it to you before you try to remember it?
I mean, I'm not trying to be saying. I know it's gonna come back to my mind. Like,
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
don't come for me in front of guests, Imam and Fahim.
It's all family here. There ain't no guests here. All right. So the significance of the Jamarat is those are the 3 times where the shaitan tried to tempt Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Ibrahim, from doing the divine order of sacrificing his son. All right. So it was those 3 different places where he tried to convince him not to do it. So you throw it at it's 3 different pillars there that you throw the stones at. And so there's a procedure actually when you do it. And the procedure is throwing 7 stones at each one. You do them in order. So the way they have the Jamarat set up, that there's a small one, a middle one, and the biggest one. And so if you do it on the days of Tashriq, when you throwing at all 3 pillars, you throw them in order. So the smallest pillar, you throw 7 stones, and you start with the small pillar. You throw 7 stones at that one, or pebbles. They say that it should be like at least the size of a pea, but they shouldn't be like big heavy rocks. Like don't get over there and start to pick up a brick if somebody hit you kind of thing that we familiar with. Growing up, your mom said if somebody mess with you, pick up a brick and try to take their head off. We don't do that at the Jamarat. You throw pebbles. And then it says that you should aim at the basin. There's basins where all of these the Jamarats are set up. Instead of trying to hit the actual object itself, try to aim for the basin, and throw 7 pebbles at each one. So you all remember the movie with Malcolm X?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you remember when he made the Hajj? And they showed like parts of the Hajj when he was doing some of the things, and they show him throwing the stones. He was saying Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the part of the Jamarat. All right. So there's etiquette when you do it. So the thing to remember is that if you only can do it for one day, which will be the day of Eid, then you will just do the biggest one. But if you're going to do all 3, then you should do it on the days of Tashriq, when you're at Mina. So that's the 11th, 12th, and 13th days. All right. So one day for each one. All right. So it's going to be either or. All right. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So the next thing the Sheikh mentions, let's get to the next section. The wajibat is the farewell tawaf. So when the person completes all of the rites of Hajj and before they leave Mecca and they're on their way to go home, they make the farewell tawaf. So you go around once, all right? And so that's for leaving Mecca or going home, done after all the other rites are completed. So that's the absolutely last thing that you do when you leave. And the only exception Like there, you can't do anything else after that, you know. And the only exception is like if there's a necessity, like if you have to do something as far as getting ready for your business travel. Like say you make the farewell tawaf and then you got to make arrangements to leave, like you got to go to your room or anything like that. That's not considered something after that. But as far as any other rights, like all of the rights that are connected with Hajj, the farewell tawaf should be the absolutely last thing. All right. So like all of the other stuff you should have done prior to that. And of course, as we said, is when you're leaving Mecca or going home, because sometimes when people make Hajj trips, they may leave Mecca, but they might go, you know, on they might have a travel package where they might go to Medina, they might go to Egypt or go to other countries. But if, you know, so it's not like, you know, you can leave and come back and then do the farewell tawaf. You do that and then on your way out, or you leave in Mecca. All right. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So then after that, after the wajibat of the Hajj, the Sheikh mentions the sunnah of the Hajj. So he doesn't mention them in the book. He just said that there are a lot of sunnahs. So he gave a definition, the sunnahs, that everything that isn't a rukin or wajibat. So anything that is that's done on the Hajj, other than the arkan that we mentioned, or which rukin is the singular for arkan, and wajibat, a wajib is the singular for wajibat or wajibat. So any of those things that we mentioned, like the arafat and the ihram and the tawaf and the sa'i and all of those things, all of the other things that are done on Hajj are sunnah, all right? And sunnah is plural of sunnah, all right? So the first one is the talbiyah. And so that is the dua when the person makes labbaika Allahumma labbaik. Here I am at your service, O Allah. All right. And this is the sunnah. This is recommended to say after the entering the state of ihram. All right. The second one is to have ghusl. So this is to be performed before entering the state of ihram. So this is a sunnah. And when we say sunnah, it doesn't mean it's like only sunnah. You know, sometimes there's this concept of people like, well, it's only sunnah, so, you know, I'm not obligated to do it. No, the sunnah is, because it's sunnah and it's the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, we should do it more. We should be trying to be inclined to do it more, because this is what the Prophet ﷺ did outside of the obligation, and we shouldn't just dismiss it as just only sunnah. So ghusl is not obligatory to perform ghusl before entering the state of ihram, but it's a sunnah, and there's blessings with doing the sunnah. The next part is perfuming the body before putting on ihram. All right, because we read in the section that we're gonna come up to that it is prohibited to put perfume on after you while you on after putting on the ihram. All right, or while in ihram. All right, the two pieces of white cloth for ihram. So you know there's a top and a bottom part that covers your aura, and you know the sunnah is white, two white pieces, because you don't have to wear white as the ihram. You know, it's not obligatory to wear white, but it's sunnah to wear two pieces of white cloth, and it's not obligatory for it to be two pieces, but this is just a sunnah. So sometimes you see when people making Hajj, they might not have white on, they might not have two pieces on. You know, some people might have like a shawl or a different other kinds of clothing. All right. Another sunnah of the Hajj is performing 2 rakats before putting on ihram. You know, if you're able to do it, you know, at the maqam of Ibrahim alayhi salam, this is where it's usually done, or in spots where you can perform 2 light rakats before putting on your ihram. The next one is walking the tawaf. All right. So that is a sunnah, because sometimes we're making tawaf, you might not be able to walk. You know, some people are carried, but the sunnah is to actually walk. And touching and kissing the black stone. This is something that'll be hard to achieve now with the number of people who are on Hajj, but you can imagine during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when people came, that you had closer access. But now it'll be very difficult. You know, you're going to Hajj, millions of people there. More than likely, you won't be able to get next to it. You know, but it's worth a try. You know. And then another sunnah is making dua between the Rukn Yemeni and the Black Stone. So there's a section between when you go around the Kaaba, there's different sections. And the Yemeni part between there and the Black Stone, there's a section there. When you get to that point, you should make dua, and that dua is in Surah Baqarah, Ayat 203. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana. You all know that dua?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh Allah, give me good in this life and give me good in the next life. That is a recommended dua you say when you get to that position. All right, any questions on that?
No.
All right. Okay, what's the next thing? Okay, so then those are the sunnahs for when you're making Hajj, and then there's sunnahs that are specifically for tawaf. All right, so the first one is that, you know, when you make tawaf there, as you going, how many times you go around?
7.
Yeah, 7. So the sunnah for tawaf is that walk briskly for the first 3 tawafs. You know, so you walk quickly, and then the other 4 you just walk at a regular pace, or the pace that everyone else is going at. All right. So if you ever seen pictures of people making tawafs, you seen like some people going really fast. They're probably in their first 3 tawafs, you know. And sometimes you see it like on the inner circles, and then in the outer circles, they're not moving. Like you guys ever seen that on any of the videos?
Yes.
Where some people seemingly going faster than others.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the sunnah. All right. So the sunnah is also uncovering the right shoulder for tawaf and sa'i. You know, you can, when you wear your ihram, it's really 2 pieces covering your top part and your bottom part. But the sunnah is to uncover your right shoulder when you make the tawaf, and you run in between. The sa'i is between Safa and Marwa to cover the right shoulder. So sometimes when you see people making those, you ever see pictures of people making Hajj, and you know, when you see them with the tawaf like that, what is that movie they used to? What was
The Message?
No, not The Message. I was thinking about a Kafir movie. I was thinking about Animal House.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. When they had the white clothes on and stuff like that.
Yes.
We even talk about the toga.
Yeah, toga. Yeah.
Yeah. Toga.
Yeah. But when you see people making the Hajj, and you see people taking pictures, and you see them with the ihram and their right shoulder, so there's probably after they did tawaf, or they ran between Safa and Marwa. So we know sa'i means running between Safa and Marwa, right?
Yes.
Okay. Another sunnah for the tawaf is making 2 rakats after tawaf, if you can make it at one of those stations. And then another sunnah is to run fast in the middle of the sa'i. So they have a section there. I mean, I've never been on Hajj myself, but they said there's a section they have lighted that, you know, that's the middle part, like the midway section. When you get to that section, you should like run really fast. And then you run in at a regular pace between them 7 times. But when you get to that section, you should run in the middle part really fast. Just like a sprint. So you know they recommend you when you go on a Hajj, you gotta like be in shape, you know. So when we make the intention to make Hajj, you know, with that intention is for us to, you know, start getting ready, getting our cardio together, inshallah. All right, so combining the night and the day for Arafat, meaning to stay there at Arafat. And we mentioned earlier about the combining the Maghrib and Isha prayer. So meaning coming there at nighttime, and in Islam, you know, the night precedes the day, and then you stay part of the day for Arafat, inshallah. And then the sunnah is for tawaf is keeping a state of tahara and try to make dua as much as you can. You know, so stay in wudu and making dua as much as you can. All right, was any questions on that?
No.
No.
All right, so just a recall here. We talked about 3 aspects of the Hajj. So they're the Rukn, the Wajibat, and the Sunan. All right. So every aspect of Hajj is going to fall into one of these. So the Rukn, or the plural is Arkan. The Hajj is invalid if any of these are missed, and atonement must be paid, or expiation, but it still doesn't make up for missing them. But you still have to make that expiation, but it doesn't make up if you miss any of those arkan. And we'll explain a little bit more coming up. So remember, the arkan is the ihram, the standing at Arafat, the sa'i, the tawaf, and tartib. These are the arkan. Any of those missing, then the Hajj will be invalid. But you can make atonement for those. You can you make a sacrifice, but even when you make that sacrifice, it still doesn't make up for missing those. Then we talk about the wajibat, or the plural is wajibat. That if you miss some of them, the Hajj is still valid. The sinful is missed. They're sinful if you miss those without a valid excuse, and you still had to, the expiation that you make by slaughtering the animal will make up for what you missed. But if without a valid excuse, you lose out. But that expiation makes up for that. But the expiation when you miss an arkan doesn't make up for that, even though you still have to you have to offer it. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so any of the sunans that we mentioned just now, there's no sin if they're not done, and you don't have to make any expiation, but you miss a great deal of reward if you don't do them. So you should do all of them because of the reward they contain. All right, and so the 3 arkan that are binding. So say, for instance, if you make the Hajj and you miss the tawaf, the sa'i, or the halq, those are binding on you to make those up as long as you're alive. So for any reason, say if you ever make Hajj and you may have missed tawaf for whatever reason, you have to make the sacrifice to make it up. You miss it, invalidates your Hajj, and you are obligated to make those up in your lifetime as long as you're alive. Like if you ever go again, you have to make those up. All right. So even when you make the expiation for the arkan, it still doesn't resolve you for at least these 3. All right. So the ihram and the tartib, they would invalidate, but those you won't have to make those up in your lifetime. But these here, you have to make them up. All right. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So as you know, in making Hajj, you all will have training and stuff like that with Hajj people who are experts in it, inshallah. So, all right, so then the next section, the Sheikh talks about the prohibitions of making the Hajj. So let's go back to the text real quick and just to read those prohibitions. Could somebody read that?
I can read them.
Hawramat, yeah.
Okay. It is not permitted for a man to cover his head or for a woman to cover her face while in the state of ihram. They are not permitted to cover even part of them, nor are they permitted to cut their nails or hair, or to put oil on their hair, on the hair of the head or beard, or to wear perfume on any part of the body. It is not permitted to perform the marriage ceremony or to have sexual intercourse or indulge in foreplay or to harm any edible wild land animals. The woman and the man are the same with regard to these prohibitions.
Okay, alhamdulillah. All right, so the prohibitions, the only thing we really need to remember here is that once you adorn the ihram, these things are prohibited. So we mentioned in the other slide that you can put perfume on before you put your ihram on, but while you're in the state of ihram, you cannot do these things that we just read. And then there's an expiation doing those things. So doing them intentionally will require an expiation of a choice. So if someone did those things intentionally after they done the ihram, they would have to make an expiation. So they have a choice to either slaughter a sheep, feed 6 people, or fast for 6 days. Slaughter a sheep, feed 6 people, or fast for 6 days. And so one of the things, and so that ends the presentation. But one of the things that we hear about the ihram, do you know what word that comes from? Just take a guess at it. No right or wrong answer.
Sounds like haram, but I don't.
That's what I was about to
Yeah,
say.
haram. Yeah, ihram. So the things that are prohibited. What other time do you use that word ihram? And what other act of worship? Do 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 do.
I don't know that.
Huh?
I don't know.
When you begin the prayer, what is that called? When you make the takbir?
Takbir ihram.
Yeah, takbir to ihram, or the takbir at-tahrim. And so what it means is the same thing in Hajj, is that you are in a state of concentrating on worship to Allah, so anything else becomes prohibited. So when you make the takbir, when you start the salat, any other action besides the salat itself is prohibited, and doing those things would invalidate. So it's the same for Hajj. So that's the meaning of ihram. So all of these things that may seem trivial, but these things, they're prohibited because they lead one to not be focused on what the Hajj is for. And that is to concentrate on the duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these things become prohibited when that state of ihram is not just when you're wearing 2 white cloths. It's a mental state that you're supposed to be in, the same as salat. That you put yourself in a mental frame that the only thing that I'm totally focused on is my duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this act of worship. All right. Okay, so that ends the section. So we got 2/3 of the book covered. And we might have only 2 more sessions for this to complete the book the way we've been doing it. And then what we're going to do is I would like to do each section, review what I'm looking for in the test, and then and we'll go over the book again, because now we don't have to go over the book verbatim. Like, say the first part, you tell me the 5 pillars, and then you don't have to know, like when it talks about ma'al ikhlas wa tasdeeq, you don't have to know that, but just know that that's the meaning behind it. And in the beginning of the book, it says that whoever, about being a kafir and stuff like that, that's just a meaning you should know, because if you're teaching this book to somebody, you want to teach them that, And then when we get to the pillars of Islam, when we talk about the salat, just know the 6 obligations for salat, what it validates the salat, what it validates the wudu, just to know them, because I'm going to ask each one of you to give me an oral run back of the book. But when you do it, you don't have to know each and every word. Just kind of know what it means. And I want you to say it to me as if you're teaching me as a new Muslim. Like, what would I need to know? Like, explain the book to me, All right. And then now I'm thinking, should we just, after we complete the next section, should we do a test for this section we just completed from the salat up until Hajj? Or should we just keep going? Or
What does the test look like? I mean, what would it look like?
It's going to look like something that you're going to need to pass. That's what it's going to look like. I'm saying, because next week we can do a review of all the stuff that we'll be going over the test, and then the week after that will be the test, and then we can finish the book, or we can finish the book and just, I'm asking here for a consensus. Will we?
Me personally, I would say test the sections instead of trying to test the whole entire book, because I came in like a few weeks after you guys started.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Okay. So what we do? What do you say, Sister Khadija? Because she's like the class president.
You just keep on with new
Self,
family
self,
members. Stop doing it
self-appointed.
silly.
Self-appointed.
No, that was you and your wife, sir. Well, I was thinking at least the Salat part, because that's because the Zakat and the Hajj. I mean, like we can do like an overview, but the Salat is like the thing that we have to know. So
Yeah.
like kind of placing emphasis on the quiz on that, I think, or the test on that part, and then, if you give us a couple of questions on Hajj and Zakat, because the Hajj, not like those two are.
Okay. We'll cover some of the parts. So what we'll do next week is from Salat, Zakat, Psalm, and Hajj. We'll cover all of the highlights that I will be looking for in the test that I think you should know. Then we'll do the test that next week we'll review. Then we'll do the test after that, and then we'll finish the book after that. And then after we finish the book, we're going to go from the beginning explaining these points. And all right, so we still got a few more weeks to go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And I told you all before Ramadan comes, we will concentrate specifically on fasting. Like we'll go a little bit deeper in the fasting. This is just a beginner's thing, but we'll go like the ins and outs and do's and don'ts in detail, inshallah, to get ready for Ramadan.
Inshallah.
So as you know, this is the month of Rabi al-Awwal, so this is 6 months before Ramadan. And there's the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with them, said that they used to make dua that Allah allowed them to reach Ramadan 6 months prior to Ramadan, and then they would make dua 6 months after that Allah accepted that Ramadan. So Ramadan is like, as you know, it's a redeemer. Like, if we don't get together no other time, Ramadan is the time that really, it's crucial. Yeah. So we will Ramadan will be starting in it started like April, right?
Yes.
April.
Yeah.
What was the date? It started. So it will be starting in the March.
Yeah.
All right. So what's this? So probably like mid-February, we'll be doing a class specifically on Ramadan, and then I'll be adding something else after we finish this book. So this won't be the last you've seen of me. Okay. Right? And hopefully this won't be the last I see of y'all, because you have a tendency to disappear on you. Okay. All right. So that'll we'll do next week. We'll review from the second part from Salat up to Hajj, but the bulk of it will be on the Salat and the Psalm, and just some major parts of the Zakat and the Hajj, because those are things that we'll need to know when it comes to it. All right, and then after that, the next week after that, it'll be a test.
Okay.
All right, pop quiz.
No, it's not a pop quiz. It's a test.
Not a pop quiz. All right. All right, and then after that, we'll finish. We have like 2 more weeks at the last section, which is really probably a good section, because it's going to talk about the vices of the heart, the mind, and things, the prohibitions of the tongue. So that's going to be a really good section, inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right, so are there any questions?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so next week, inshallah, we'll be ready to review, and then we have a test. Now, the test, how did we do it last time, Sister Khadija? I emailed them to y'all, right?
Yeah, you did it on, it was like some app that we did it on. I forgot.
But I think we're going to do it where you're going to put your answers in the chat box.
Okay.
And then, all right, so y'all know how you get to the chat box, right?
Yes.
All right, you see down there. So what I'll do is when we read the question, I'll be like, oh, such and such, is it A, is it B, is it C, is it D, or is it E? Or, whatever the choices are, then you just type
a lot of letters to be putting.
No, you're just gonna put whatever your letter is,
I need to know where it is, because I need my bodyguard, Sister Ava. You always doing something. You always doing something when Sister's not here.
She's inactive right now.
See, you mess up when your wife is not here. You acting extra.
Yeah, well, even when she around, I'm still the teacher.
Whatever.
Okay.
All right. All right. So, is there any questions?
No.
No.
All right. So, inshallah, just kind of review the book again. So, some of your notes. If you have to just review the sections on the YouTube pages, inshallah. But we're gonna review it next week. Whatever you need to know. But I'll make sure you have all the information you need. Sister Venus, if you have any questions in the meantime, you can access. I really won't hold you to too much because this is your first day in class. You just try your best, inshallah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, and you have a network of sisters here to to help you out, inshallah. And we'll see how it go next week. So there ain't no questions or comments or anything. We're in.
I'm just saying, Black women, Muslim Black women, we're gonna save the world. Because look at your class. Look at your class.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. At least I'll be instrumental when y'all say the word. Don't forget to, like the Muslim Charlie from Charlie's Angels. Inshallah. All right. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.
Right.
Salam.